All right, everybody,
boy.
welcome in. Game 3, Celtics Pacers. Loss.
Wah.
Not looking good. I mean,
Yeah,
whatever.
I got a lot of complaints, guys. I got a lot of complaints. Where do you guys want to start?
If you've got complaints, I'm going to let you air your grievances to start here, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
Okay.
I want to start at the end with I hate
Everything.
that shot. Hate it.
Oh, okay.
A 40
Okay. So we're on the same page.
9 seconds to do whatever you want, and you pull up from 35 feet. It's just ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah. And what drives me crazy? Drives me crazy about it is, that you take so long to make your move. 2, I'm not quite sure this is the move, guys, because it's a 1-point game. If it's a tie game, that's a different situation.
Get going.
And listen, I'm one for Jayson Tatum ISO. I like that. I like for him to get those reps in, but I didn't think tonight was the night for that. I really didn't. You had other guys really stepping up here. Robert Williams, man, we'll get to him later. I mean, he also wasn't, doing everything down the stretch that should have benefited the Celtics. But at the same time, though, I'm not saying look, with Jayson Tatum and when it comes to Brad Stevens' late game execution, what happened to the days of Brad coming up with those crazy plays? What happened to those days of when you were unexpected? You didn't know who was going to shoot the ball at the end of the game, whether it was Evan Turner or whether Isaiah. And listen, I'm not saying I want to see Brad Stevens set up every other person for that last-minute shot, right? But we've seen Brad Stevens pull out way better tricks than that, right? Marcus Morris, a couple of those game winners when he was still wearing his uniform. He has those tricks. Why is he afraid to use them, guys? Is it too early for those tricks? I mean, isn't this the time where you work out those plays, the ones that you're really confident in?
You are.
Or is Tatum is that the best you can do? Is that it? Is that the best this team can do right now, the way they are, the way they're progressing? Is that the best finish that Brad can do? Maybe
it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, Josue. Everyone wants to see Tatum take the shot. If Tatum drives and kicks and Pritchard takes the final shot, everyone will be like, what was that? LeBron
but it's a 1-point game, John. I don't know.
So,
I don't know if that's really true.
LeBron suffered from this. I just want Tatum to get moving a little bit. It's a 35. I don't care if he takes a 3-pointer or a pull-up jumper or backs a guy in and shoots a turnaround. But a 35-footer. I mean,
so Brad's play calling doesn't bother you there? You're more upset at Tatum?
I'm upset that he chose to take that shot instead of working for something better.
I thought this was a great opportunity for Brad to come up with something better than that. I don't know. Whether it meant Tatum making the last shot, fine. But dribbling it out for 6-7 seconds, that's not ideal.
So one thing you notice about the Pacers, and they did this all night long, is they do take away that lane. They put a guy on the elbows. They put a guy on the low post blocks there. So it cuts off a lot of the cutting, a lot of the driving lanes that they had. And, man, Jaylen Brown incredibly still tore through that and had a fantastic game, efficient, got to the rim. But I think in a late-game situation there, you don't have the cutting lanes. You don't have the driving lanes that you'd be running into 3 guys there. Now, could Tatum make a pass? But he'd been turning it over on there. I still think that's the best look he can come up with there.
I saw it on TV, hero ball garbage, okay? It's an awful shot. I've seen superstars do it. I'm a superstar. I'm going to take that shot. It's a terrible shot. You think his teammates wanted him to take that shot? That's the shot everybody wanted the game to end on?
Again, I don't mind if he takes the shot, but that's not it. That's not the one.
It was a tough shot. It definitely was.
Shot,
He's capable of making it.
That shot.
Well, this is the same conversation we had after Milwaukee. A tough shot there, and he makes it. Last-second possession's never going to be an easy, as I say, pick and roll, dump to the sidelines, again, open 3. It's never going to be that easy.
Okay, these are 2 games he's had the ball in his hands.
And he's 1 for 2.
And this was, honestly, a better shot than
half player. I don't even know if that's 1.
This is a much better shot. At least he had a clean look.
Yeah, exactly.
The one
I don't know about that.
He realized that Giannis knew it was coming. He was extended and he threw a moon ball into the air. That was a worse shot than this.
Yeah. So Brad's talking now. He just said they had a motion that got denied and Tatum took a tough shot. So that's basically what happened there, that they had a plan A and the Tatum heave was plan B there. And again, I don't hate it. He's capable of making that shot. He's a tough shot maker. He's your best player. If you want to do something a little fancier, you go to Brown in that situation and try to get him some penetration. And if there's any second guess, maybe you use Tatum as some sort of diversion and get it to Brown. Because if we're, through 3 games right now, who's the best Celtics player right now on offense?
Robert Williams.
Brown. No, it's Jaylen Brown. I mean, this guy's probably in the league.
He's like fourth, but yeah.
Hey,
it's Jaylen Brown. In fact, look, things came easy to Tatum for a little while tonight. He looked like he could have cooked. This had the look of a 40-point game for him at times. But what's amazing about Jaylen is he could get anything he wanted, anytime he wanted. He could get anywhere he wanted, and he only took 13 shots tonight. This is those frustrating games that Jaylen used to have where he clearly could get it going if the Celtics would involve him more, but he'd be the third or fourth option and he just goes stretches without getting the ball in his hands. There is no excuse on this team for Jaylen Brown not to get as many shots up as he wants in a game. It makes no sense to me. He was quiet after a super hot start. He absolutely needed to be more involved.
Well, what I love
I would agree with that, John. I mean, like Bobby had mentioned, after the Bucks game, we talked about how that was a lucky shot. John's consistent. He hated this shot in Milwaukee. He hates this shot. I tend to stick with him on this. I didn't, we said,
Wow.
that was a lucky shot. It was a lucky shot that Tatum hit in Milwaukee, and maybe that's part of his thinking behind taking the shot tonight. He sort of got that, swagger mentality going where, he wants to take that big shot, the Damian Lillard type shots, the step back 35 footers or whatever. And I don't know what the play was. I mean, Brad clearly said that was option B, apparently, according to Bobby. So I believe him. But is that really a good option B? I mean, you can't drive your way to the hoop. You can't find a Jaylen Brown, or there isn't something like Josue mentioned. They didn't need a desperation 3 at that point. They could have taken gotten a better look from somewhere else on the court, try to force overtime, get to the line, something like that. So I wasn't super pumped with that shot selection. And yeah, I mean, you want to see somebody like Jaylen Brown maybe be a part of that play and get an opportunity, because in a situation like that, his mid-range games through the first 2.5 games or 2 games going into this one was on point. I mean, we were all talking about how his mid-range games looked. So, I mean, in that situation, you kind of think that maybe he's a guy that has a better chance of hitting it, between the paint and the 3-point line or getting to the hoop.
Yeah, it's a tough defense to go against. It's Toronto's defense, frankly. It's their assistant coach from last year from the championship team. They do that box and one. They pinch the lane. It's a lot of stuff that keeps you out of the driving lane. And frankly, I thought the Celtics were wildly impressive on the offensive night against that after some of the struggles they had against Toronto. Now, better personnel in Toronto. I don't think that Indiana has the best defenders in the world, so you would expect a better performance from Boston on this end. What blew it for Boston tonight, and we're through 3 games now, they're the worst defensive team in the league. The defense is horrid. Their defense just has no life. They get blown away in transition. Every big shot they hit, it's a shot the other way. I think their rating's 122
the
right now.
Transition defense is abominable.
So the offense is working.
They're pretty much trading baskets, it seemed like, in that first half.
Yeah.
So what is it? Is it the bigger lineups that they run out there? Is it how hard they're chasing offensive rebounds right now? I think that's definitely clear that they're all over the offensive glass and then just getting torched the other way. Is there not enough Daniel Tice? Only 14 minutes tonight. He's part of
actually, let's get to that. Brad said it after the game. Asked point blank, is something wrong with Tice? He said, nope. Williams was just our best big tonight. Okay. I put a poll up on Celtics Twitter, not a ton of respondents, but yet, because it was late in the game, but overwhelmingly, Robert Williams was the answer. And again, he's a fan favorite. It's a popular answer. There's no question. Again, I always do the test. If you were just dropped, from another planet onto your sofa today to watch this basketball game, and this is the first time you saw any of these guys play, you would think Robert Williams was a far superior basketball player to Tristan Thompson and Daniel Tice. Just tonight, in terms of his activity, his athleticism, he was all over the place. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a long-winded way of saying that he had a good game tonight. I mean, of course, and I think that's why he was in the game, is because he was performing, to that level of a level that a lot of Celtics fans, and I probably imagine coaches, have been kind of waiting to see that sort of energy, I think you would call it, from Robert Williams. Sometimes I see him out there and I feel like he's going at like 70%, or he's just slow to everything. And I didn't feel like that tonight. I mean, even the 3-pointer that Jayson Tatum missed late in the game, that was off of a great pass by Rob Williams. I mean, Tatum had a wide
Great
open
point.
three.
That's the best look you want there, right?
Exactly. And if that shot goes, I mean, we might be having a completely different post game right now. Tatum
Right.
missed a wide open
That was
shot.
the
But
game
that
right
was
there.
a perfect look.
Yeah.
Perfect look. So, you know, tip my cap to Rob Williams. I mean, that's the type of game that we've all been kind of waiting to see. And listen, if he can play like that, I'm fine with him taking minutes from Tice. Because, you know, Indy's got some big bodies in there. And Robert Williams has size and he's, you know, got young legs. And, you know, that's the type of performance and player that you want in that situation. Now, he's not much of an offensive option late in the game, clearly. But that's why you have guys like Tatum and Brown out there. That's where you want taking those shots anyway.
I mean, he made the play of the game. I mean, it could have been. I mean, he made the steal there. That,
yep.
You know, with the Celtics.
He was all over the place at
It
the
was
end of the game.
unbelievable.
Yeah, but how do you guys feel about Tristan Thompson not being on the floor? I mean, isn't this the guy that's supposed to be the anchor of the defense, the one that's supposed to take down, you know, bigs like Turner or whoever's the opposing bigs are? I was surprised that we didn't see him at the end of the game. And then I feel like Indiana was like, oh, wait a minute. They're not going to call timeout. We're not going to call timeout. Let's keep Rob out there, get the ball to Myles Turner, and that's exactly what happened. Boom, Myles Turner in transition, go to the basket, boom, foul and one.
Yeah, all Thompson questions directed to Bobby. Bobby, did you send me the Turner graphic or no?
I did. It should be in your text.
Okay.
The Thompson minutes are not great so far to start this year. Part of it's he's alongside Tice. I think that just isn't a great combo for them. And switching wise, I think he's been okay. But overall, you know, a little too much isolation on offense. Defensively, I don't think he's been amazing. That switch that John called out that they almost got nailed on the open three up at the top, I think it was the second to last possession. He botched that one pretty bad. Thompson minutes haven't been great to start the year. And, you know, we mentioned the Turner block as well late on him inside. So he's limited right now. It feels like he's not 100% back from that injury. So a little more Williams, a little less him. I'm just stunned that Tice gets 14 minutes out of those three there. I mean, this was the best center on the roster a year ago. You could argue that Tice was in Thompson's lane last year among the overall centers in the NBA. And he certainly had more institutional value to the Celtics for their defense and the cohesion with the other guys. I'm just like, why is he third on the leaderboard right now? I know Rob had a great game. You ride that wave, but
I think the reality, Bobby, is we got a little too high on Tice last year. And the reality is this is who he is on most teams. Okay. It worked for what the Celtics needed last year with the lineup that they were playing with the
they were top five defense
with the 3-wing lineup, a lot of length. You know, the way that worked out there, they were able to make up for it other places. It doesn't work as well here. And so, again, they were able to get away with a non-traditional center playing center and able to be okay because they were so switchable and they could do so many different things on defense there, and they can't do it as well this year.
Well,
and, the reality is Tice is a Jag. He's good. He's fine.
But how much does Kemba play a part of that, John? Because let's think about it. I mean, if Kemba's out there, I think he's a little more effective, or at least you would see him more often. Yeah, I agree to the fact that Steven's sort of scrambling here and trying to figure this thing out with his bigs. And I also think that Tristan Thompson, he wants him to get more adjusted to the offense. And the same thing goes for Rob Williams. And Rob Williams, of course, you know, in training camp, talking about he's more vocal, he's a leader in the front court. So I think all of that is relative. I think he wants to get him more reps early on. But I also think that you'll see more Tice when Kemba comes back into the fold. I think there's a lot.
Maybe I think here's the same. This was my problem with the Turner Tristan Thompson sign. Not problem. My thought with the Tristan Thompson signing was it'll be game specific, matchup specific. There'll be nights where he plays 17, 18 minutes. He's going to be a 6 and 5 guy. He's not going to be a guy who's like a 25, 30 minute anchor in there. All of these guys are interchangeable parts based on who's playing well, like tonight was Williams, or what the game needs based on matchups. But Jimmy, go ahead. You wanted to get going.
I just wanted one thing that you guys haven't mentioned. I think the real reason Tice's minutes are at 14, take a look at Grant Williams' minutes tonight, 22. I mean, that's a player that if you want to make a case for Tice playing over anybody tonight, it's not Rob Williams, it's Grant Williams.
Yeah, you're right.
And that to me was the interesting thing, is because I didn't think Grant Williams had a particularly great night. I mean,
I don't think
he just had a typical Grant right. I mean, he had a typical Grant Williams night where, I mean, he did a little bit out there. And I forget who it was that blew by him in the closing seconds it was Sabonis, blew right by him and forced Rob Williams to, commit the foul. If Tice is going to be in the game, And to be honest, he gives you better offense than Grant does. So if you're rolling with Rob Williams, I wouldn't mind seeing Tice in there with Rob Williams in place of Grant.
I know, but Bobby mentioned it. That two big lineup has been brutal.
Yeah, like I just
it has, but these are two different.
You could roll them out against the Pistons, maybe. Well, not
this is a tough team. You're right, Jimmy. They've played teams that because Durant playing the 4 with a traditional 5 in what's his name? Jordan,
yeah.
And then Milwaukee's also big with Giannis playing, in there as well. And then Lopez. Actually, these first 3 games play because their 4s are so big, 6'10", 6'11" guys, and they use traditional centers. Each of these 3 teams presents a situation where it's hard to go small against them. And maybe
thank God they got
I wonder if the too big lineup lasts past this Indiana game. We'll see. I passed the next Indiana game.
Yeah, and apparently that's the Naismith thing too. Naismith, they mentioned that before the game as well.
Who's he?
Brad mentioned that before the game that they're going against bigger, tougher teams, and that's why he's not getting the minutes right now. This all goes back to that 5th man problem. We talked about Green. We've talked about Tice being that 5th guy in the rotation. Grant in this game, heavily that 5th guy in the lineup. They can't hammer down that spot right now. It's not Semi, and this is the Gordon Hayward spot in the lineup that they just don't have a replacement for right now. So
really?
Tice isn't the answer. They might not have an answer on the roster right now. Is it Payton Pritchard? Do you go 3 guards? That's a possibility.
There is no answer. This was why we were so apoplectic when Hayward left. Is there's no replacing him. There's not that next guy down who's going to give you minutes that are even comparable to what he was getting. You're talking about a top 50 NBA player. And an all-star caliber guy, and the next player down is Grant Williams or Semi Ojeleye, who are barely rosterable players. I'm sorry, but that's the fact. These guys are low-end rotation guys.
So Grant,
am I wrong, Josue?
Grant was bad tonight.
Barely
overall, you guys
all right, maybe for championship contender or top team, but geez. Rotation player, I would say, not rosterable. They can be on the roster. That's okay.
Rotation players, okay. These Semi Ojeleye is not a rotation player on a contender.
Well, he's a defender. So if you're talking, you want defense in the rotation there. The side Grant's struggling in that aspect right now. Maybe play Semi a little bit more, but Grant, we're all in agreement there that his are a little too high right now. I guess the fascination with him is the secondary passing out of the sidelines. I think that's been fantastic from him. He hits a 3 late, but if we look at the final score, 108-107. He went to the free throw line after that offensive rebound and missed one, a critical free throw late. So Grant was probably the worst Celtic tonight, him or Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague just 8-9 free throws in the bonus there in the third. Instead, he's 0 for 6 overall. So another nothing night from him. They're just searching on that wing position for who can be that 5th guy, and no one's stepping up right now.
Yeah, but I don't blame Brad for trying with Grant. Maybe he's trying a little too hard, but if you look at his skill set and you compare him to the other options that Brad has, would you do the same? You want to try to get him going, especially offensively. His offensive skill set. He's the only one out of those 3 guys that you just mentioned that can score in at least a couple of kind of ways. He's not going to put the ball on the floor, but he has a little more versatility compared to Javonte Green and
that floater attempt he tried was so ugly. But yeah, 2 for 4, decent night for him.
He didn't even hit anything on that floater, right, Bobby? It was a straight air ball.
Oh, yeah. But again, offense not the issue tonight for him either. 2 for 4. Defensively, he was a mess. You talk about the Sabonis play. When guards get onto him, he gets torched. It's not good right now.
Because that's the problem. He's no matter what, he's not big enough, strong enough to hang with bigs when he's playing in that 4-5 position. So he's going to get bullied there. And he's not quick enough to stay with a wing. He's just, no matter what, it's almost always whoever he's guarding is a mismatch. He's really ill. There's no home for him. He has to be able to do. Again, we were talking about on the text thread, what's his plus skill?
3-point shooter right now.
That's
passing,
a plus.
3-point shooting. He has been a very efficient 3-point shooter.
That's his version of a plus.
One of those. We're not grading on a skill set. We're talking on an NBA player.
Yeah, he does a little bit of everything. That's his thing.
A little bit of everything below league average.
That's what kind of with me. He does a little bit of a little
That's
bit.
the fact.
Baby doses of a little bit.
He's below average at almost everything.
You know who gives you,
but not terrible at anything though.
Not terrible. He's fine. He's okay.
Not off at any of those things though.
You know who gives you 30 minutes tonight against the Pacers if you had him? Myles Turner. And we're not talking about Rob. We're not talking about Grant Williams if Myles Turner's on the Celtics right now.
So how about Dougie Buckets?
I was more into McBuckets.
Oh, Dougie McBuckets.
I'll take them both. I still take that trade.
Let's say this, okay?
Couldn't stand to even discuss was Dougie McBuckets.
In round one, okay? This is round one of the Turner. So basically, this debate we're going to be having all year, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be the Turner McBuckets versus Thompson and the TPE. That's right.
Could have been yours.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the WWE. That's the tag team matchup. We're going to be running it all year long.
We got round 2 in 2 days. It's perfect.
Turner and McBuckets, round 1 versus Thompson and the TPE. Who's the winner?
That's the difficulty of this. That TPE.
Who wins round 1?
Round 1 goes to Turner and McBuckets by far. Not even close.
Big time.
Think of it like this. Turner and McBuckets, 26 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 5 blocks by Turner, by the way. Elite shot blocker. Has been for a few years.
Let's be real, because we give everyone a hard time here. Okay. Turner has no semblance of an offensive game.
Yeah.
He looked drunk to start the game.
And his 3-point shot is the release on it is different every single time he takes it. It's like me golfing,
and he loves taking them.
I change it every single time, like I'm constantly changing my swing. His jumper looked different every time he took it, that's a weird, ugly looking shot, big moon ball,
He's better in the block, much better in the mid range. But when you have Sabonis on your team, though, I mean, you're not getting any of those touches anymore. That's out the window.
Sabonis has polish, Turner has
no game. My point, when you have a weapon like that, you're not going to get any more touches anymore. Like, that's it. Like, you have an established scorer, so it's tougher for him to get his touches.
Yeah.
He gets touches. He just jacks them away with threes. The problem with
the 3 too, he can't wait to shoot it. When he's back there, as soon as it touches his hand, it's gone. Like, he really wants to be that guy.
But John, that's what Brad likes. Stevens,
but he's not good enough.
He wants to see that at tight.
His percentage is up slightly last year, but he's still not. He still doesn't hit it at a good enough clip to be back there.
The ball's in his hands a lot, and it would be here as well. And it's a 0-assist game from him. He doesn't run the offense great from the high post. And I still think the reason this trade doesn't work is because a player like him, excellent shot blocker. We now have a 5-block game, an 8-block game this year. But you're paying $18 million for a shot blocker. When you have Rob Williams, when you have the possibility,
he has 5 blocks and his blocks per game went down.
Yeah. So I just don't think it's worth it. They get flexibility from not trading Hayward and not adding this
8 and 4. I think he's 8-4-5. He was averaging 6 blocks coming in. His 5 blocks.
I get what you're saying, Bobby, but that just sounds fun. We've been watching Celtics for years, and we just never seen something like that. The closest thing is what, KG. It's sort of like, this is why we got so excited about Jeff, because it's like, wait, is that Eddie? We haven't seen these guys in so long. Like, a shot blocker and a knockdown 3-point scorer that can just come in and light it up.
Let's imagine this game if the trade happened.
Sean Williams could have been that guy.
Gordon Hayward scores, 25 to 28 for the Pacers tonight. Pacers win a close one.
Shout out.
And Myles Turner is jacking threes on the Celtics side. We'd be losing our minds. We'd be having the Myles Turner. Oh my God, did they get screwed over in this trade?
But everybody gets to do whatever they want here, and it's okay in the Boston offense.
Yeah, as long as you play defense.
You want.
Right.
That's what worries me too with him. So I just never want anything to do with him.
Brad's going to be thrilled. Do what you want on offense. It's all yours.
Shoot if you want. It's what makes you confident.
Do you want that ISO Turner you were talking about? You want to do that? Let's do it.
This is the problem with this right now. We're getting all the games out of the way early, and there's no TP arrival until later in the season. So this one's going to be hard to judge.
It's a hard debate to have.
And Thompson's not right either, so it's tricky right now. But this is a Pacers team that's been honing themselves for a couple of years now with this group. TJ Warren still looks like his bubble self. I thought he was fantastic tonight. That's a good team. I don't agree with Jimmy that they would beat Boston in a 7-game series, but they're a playoff team. Some people didn't have them in the playoffs.
That's not the question.
Team.
Let's ask everybody. I'll ask Jimmy first because I know the answer, but the question before the season was, where do the Celtics kind of slot in? And again, all of the caveats, and disclaimers ahead of time. It's 3 games. Things change. We're not judging the team based off of a 3-game performance, but just looking at this team and its roster and looking at other teams, where do you think they slot in? And there's a lot of NBA experts that still had the Celtics in that upper echelon bubble, of the 1-2, not 1-2, but it felt like they were no lower than 3 in most people's estimation. And for us, I was thinking more in the middle of the pack, closer to teams like Indiana. So, Jimmy, I'll start with you. Is there a huge difference between these two teams? Granted, it's a 1-point game tonight. No Oladipo, no Kemba Walker. Call that a wash, I guess. But, what do you think?
No, absolutely. And I got bashed in the comments by saying,
you had Pacers love the Celtics. Yeah.
No, I didn't. I had them right there, but I said I was like, I think Indy's roster is better than the Celtics roster right now.
Oh yeah, that's what you said. That's what you said.
They have an excellent coach too. They really do. I like this guy. Yeah.
I got bashed, but I think now, like John said, we're only a few games in. But if you're still sitting there and thinking the Celtics are a 2 seed and the Pacers are a 7 seed, I got bad news for you, buddy, because it's not that far. You're not that far off from the Pacers right now.
Right. This would be a coin flip 7-game series, and it wouldn't shock me if the Celtics would beat them in 5 games or whatever.
Right.
It's absolutely possible, but you wouldn't with confidence say, "Oh yeah, they got this." This is a good enough team to absolutely give the Celtics trouble. This felt like a pretty balanced game.
Celtics went in as 2-point favorites and they lost.
Yeah.
I feel like the Celtics fans who don't think that the Indiana Pacers are anywhere near the Celtics are the same ones that had the Celtics slotted at number 3 in the East. Let's be real, guys. That's not the case. Not before the season started, and it certainly isn't now. I put the Celtics at 5th, and I think Indy is probably 6th. They're right there. So I don't understand where this gap is coming from, or maybe this is before this game. But if you still feel that way after what you saw, I don't know what to tell you, because the Indiana Pacers, they did it again. I'm glad you brought that up. They did this without Oladipo, who has a lot to prove after last season. And 2, they made them uncomfortable. The Celtics really had to fight for this. They tacked on 39 third-quarter points. If the Celtics didn't get on that run right before the fourth quarter, this thing could have been out before it even got to midway through the fourth quarter. I give the Celtics for fighting, though. I do. I give them credit for that. But Indiana Pacers, they're not that far off.
60 points in the paint for Indiana.
They're gonna get Oladipo back too for the next game. So there's their front man.
39 without Oladipo. No sleep on Brogdon. Okay, 15 second-half points, and he made it look easy. When Marcus Smart went down, I was like, if Marcus Smart didn't come back, I was like,
that team. What? I want to go back to the conversation we were having in the offseason. It feels like everything's centered on Turner as the only option because that's what the reports were late. But earlier in the offseason, when they were talking about Oladipo theoretically for a Hayward trade, and everyone's like, I don't know, redundancy with Kemba. Like, are we kidding? You think the Celtics wouldn't have been better with Victor Oladipo on this team? I'm baffled by the thinking that people were going through here. It's like you had the luxury of picking which really good player you would get.
Is he out there tonight, though?
Huh?
Is he out there tonight?
Is
that's
Kemba?
the problem. Well, that's true too, but it wasn't Kemba for Oladipo, And if we're being honest about it,
redundancy with Kemba and Oladipo. But again, good players are good players. You get them wherever you can get them. The problem with the Celtics is not enough talent on the team beyond the first few players on the team, the first 3, 4, 5 guys. There's just not enough talent right now. You're digging deep. You got Pritchard playing 20+ minutes every game right now because he's just in pure talent. He might be the 5th most talented player on the team at this moment.
Yeah, that one's tricky. I don't think
he might be, right?
Yeah,
I don't think a deal would have got done there without Turner.
He's like 6'7". Come on.
It's not about the deal. It's just about the fact that Celtics fans were like, well, we don't know if we really want him. By the way,
I don't want him.
Celtics are going to have to treat Kemba the same way the Pacers are treating Oladipo. He's going to play he's not going to play back-to-backs. When Kemba Walker comes back, he's not just going to keep coming back full force. Like, he's going to have to take games off too.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, John admitted the difference here. There's structural damage with Oladipo. They're struggling to get back from 2 years going now. And Kemba just feels like more of a management thing. I'd rather have
I
Kemba than
totally
Oladipo.
disagree. I think Kemba, in fact, structural with Oladipo, and he hasn't regained his full athletic form, whereas Kemba's is degenerative and will continue to get worse over time. It might be managed to the point that you don't see the drop-off instantly, but I'm extremely worried about Kemba this is arthritic. This does not get better. Okay. And they're doing Hail Mary treatments now. I think they'll get him back on the court, but I don't know that we'll see. We'll see. But again, this is the type of thing where it doesn't get better. You're hoping you can just stop time.
You'd be talking about two guys in that position with the Hayward.
You could. All I'm saying is we're just speaking to the talent level on the Celtics right now.
Right,
Clearly, this is what we're looking at. Is you're looking for that lineup, and once you get past Jalen, Jayson, and Marcus, I don't know who you want on the court.
No, it's a bad, but that they got the flexibility and they got to make a move down the line.
You're starting Thompson and Tice.
You have no flexibility,
and neither one was good enough.
I mean,
you mean for trades, right, Bobby?
Yes, I mean they have flexibility to make moves down the line. They got to do it, and they got to do it right here. But we're not judging this trade off today, where Thompson's barely healthy coming back, and the Pacers are who they're. You know why we heard all this noise about the Pacers over the offseason? Because they would be the perfect team right now with Gordon Hayward. It would solve all of their problems, and they really need to get it done, and they didn't, and they're kind of stuck as a roster right now because of the fact that they didn't get it done. I mean, you look at this roster right now with Turner gone and Hayward who's scoring 28 points in Charlotte right now. I mean, they'd be a top half East team. So all that noise was coming from the Indiana side. They needed to get this done. Boston, it was like, Oladipo's not great. Turner's not great. Doug McDermott, is he solving we're talking about defensive issues in Boston, not offensive issues. So I'm just sick of hearing about all these.
Doug McDermott's start on this team right now.
He's an offensive shooter. He doesn't give you anything on defense.
I'm asking right now on this team, would he start?
Probably not.
Yes. Ahead of Tice in this lineup tonight, yes, he would have.
Especially because of the size? Yeah, I think so.
Size and the ability to score.
The more I think about it, guys, I feel like the more I think about it, or the more as time goes on, was TJ Warren a breaking point of that trade talks? Because I could just see Danny being like, just going for it. I want TJ. And they were like, no, we're not giving you TJ. And he just like, you know what?
He's the only good piece out of all those guys. Oladipo's broken. Turner's not good.
I don't know why, man. I get this gut-wrenching feeling that he just got upset that he wasn't getting TJ Warren and said, you know what? No trade. And maybe that bites in the ass. Maybe it doesn't, though. We still have time to figure things out. But right now, they're not going to use that TB within the next couple of weeks. You have to wait to see.
I'm telling you right now.
You have to wait to see how other teams are going to pan out and hope that, some players become available that can address at least the wing position.
Yeah, maybe they can go get a McDermott type.
call Indiana.
You guys are unbelievable. I mean, McDermott's a good shooter, and that's it. And he makes $5 million.
He's not nearly as bad defensively as people say. He's fine. He's not a star. What we're saying is right now, this team has no offense. Okay, beyond
the guys that. Right.
Yeah.
The big.
It would have been great to get Warren and McDermott, but that trade probably wasn't there, and it seems likely Warren was off the table. Like this, all just goes back to Turner. Did you want Turner? The Celtics say no, and there's no deal there to be had. Oladipo, you could maybe second guess that one, but like I'm just still imagining this world tonight where Hayward's on the Pacers and Turner's on the Celtics, and it probably could have gone worse than what we saw tonight. The way Hayward probably would have fit in on that.
Bobby. You don't believe that on this team?
Do you see what Hayward's doing in Charlotte? I mean, he would have been fitting in on.
I'm saying for Boston. For Boston.
I mean, what does Turner really add that you don't have right now? Like the center position's been fine for them.
Scoring big,
man. They need
more scoring. He had what, 8 points?
Well, because he doesn't. It's pretty clear he just doesn't fit.
Brad's relying on Grant Williams
the right way on that team. Anyways, we can't go down this road.
No, we're gonna do it, and then we're gonna do it again when the conversations again
on Wednesday.
We get to do it on 2 straight.
I always this is the last thing I'll say about it. Right? I always say, and I said
we gotta get to those
months ago or whenever we first started this conversation. Right? It's not. I feel like, Bobby, you're focused more on the players, their talent and their contracts. It's not more about that. It's more about what they do and what the Celtics badly need right now. Yeah, it won't put them way up the top or whatever, the food chain, but it could really push this thing along quicker than we're seeing right now. I know it's still early, but at the same time, it's just you watch those two guys tonight, and it's like, again, what I said is like they could have been on the Celtics, you know, or maybe it was one player away from getting it done, and maybe that would answer some of these problems right now for the Celtics, short-term problems for the Celtics.
I'll listen to Oladipo. Turner's not short-term because he signed through 2023, and that matters.
I'm not crazy about Oladipo. That's John's guy, but yeah, okay.
I'd give you Oladipo because there's star upside there, and you're flipping damage star for damage star. Maybe something works out there. It's a 1-year deal. The thing
I don't think there's any bad combination between Oladipo, freaking McDermott, Turner. Which two of the three? I'll take. I don't know. I wouldn't have hated it.
For a guy like Turner, whose value is definitely shaky around the league, that 23 thing really did matter. If you're carrying around $18 million, paying tax this year too for Myles Turner, it just wouldn't have been good team management. Like we talk about Danny letting Hayward go for nothing being bad management, would have been even worse to pay for Turner, have that stuck on the books for 3 years, and be in the tax for Myles Turner. Like, are we seriously talking about Turner being a difference maker in this team being, you know, maybe a 4 or 3 seed, but he's not getting them back in contention?
That's, again, you're just, the issue is
you don't just trade for anybody just because and start paying you got to be a contender, and Myles Turner doesn't make you a contender.
Will they be with a TPE? Do they have any tradable assets to get better? Do they have draft positions to get better? The Celtics, the reality is the Celtics have very few avenues to get better. Very few right now. The TPE is not that avenue. The TPE is a couple of guys who are going to be quality rotation players at best or not used at all. Okay? That's it. There's nothing, no avenue to getting better.
Yeah.
After that, that's the point. Is in a different world, it makes sense when you're hoarding assets and you're like, we can move things later. And they're gone. There's nothing left. There's no path anymore. So you have to take some swings and see if you hit, or else accept this, which is picking in the middle to the late. Now picking in the 20s in the draft with Nesmith and Romeo and Rob Williams and Grant Williams and a TPE as what you have backing up your stars. That's not great.
So if we go the other way, you have Turner, who's negative value, puts you in the tax, probably not a trade asset.
How did we get the negative value?
He's an $18 million. He's an $18 million shot blocker who signed for 3 years. Who's going to want that?
Yo, why are you making it sound like he's freaking Bennett or like
Ben Wallace.
Greg Oden in like his 3rd season or something? Jeez, like
look at what he did. He's 3 for 10. He's an okay rebounder. He's a great shot blocker, and he makes $18 million for 3 years. And then you talk about McDermott, a guy on a 1-year, $5 million deal. He might help your bench a little bit right now. But what we're talking about with the Celtics,
a rental, yes, I'll take a rental.
And what they ended up doing, they have Thompson, who I still think is going to be a great piece, and a TPE that allows you to trade for anybody. That's vital flexibility.
We got some. I'm gonna bump around here.
This is gonna be a war all year long.
Look, I don't think Turner and McDermott don't make you a contender. Neither does the TPE. Losing Gordon for not able to swing a good trade for Gordon, and then not having Gordon was the killer. Not turning down that trade. I don't know that's the big difference maker for the team. So even though we'll debate it, that's actually not really the issue.
Let me get Jimmy on this one more time.
Yeah.
Jimmy, would you rather have Turner or Thompson?
All things being equal, or what?
Yeah, that Thompson
means Turner and TPE.
Well, no, it's one or the other. You couldn't get Thompson if you got Turner. So it really is one or the other here. So, yeah.
I'd probably still take Turner. I'm not going to – I haven't seen it enough from either guy to change my original opinion. And, again, I like Thompson, but I think Turner has more upside. That's really what it comes down to. You don't. You think that Turner is just an $18 million shot blocker. I think that he's the guy that – and, again, what we said was that you're only going based on Turner's past. You're not accounting for the fact that maybe Brad Stevens can turn him into something more. I mean, isn't that half the reason why the Celtics brought Brad Stevens on as a coach, so that he can, take these – players and make them better? Is that still a thing that Brad Stevens is capable of doing or not? Because if he is, then you can't just take Turner for what he is. You have to assume that he can improve in 3-point shooting, in his passing, or he's already an elite shot blocker, solid defender. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd still
It's
and
a
with
fair
Thompson
point.
again.
It's a
Thompson,
tough call. He
Thompson's
may
an
be
above.
past the point. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he is.
He may be past the point of turning into something else. This might be what he is. A good weak side, a good like help side defender, weak side shot blocker. And unless that 3-pointer all of a sudden gets much better,
he needs to. Yeah, he needs to.
And I'll keep going back to this.
That's why I'm bringing up like Anthony Bennett and like these big men bust that were like in year 3 and people are like, oh, we're not quite sure.
Those guys didn't make 18
That's
million.
not Myles Turner, man. Don't make it sound like he's a bust.
The contract, the years, all that stuff matters when you're building the team. All things being equal, if you were just taking him and the contract didn't matter and all that stuff, sure. But he's got a pretty big second deal here, and that ended up mattering to them. That's the reason they didn't do it. So
that contract, worst case scenario, that contract does expire before you need to re-sign Tatum or Brown. It's not like
great. So at the end of this whole window, they'll be off of it in 4 years.
Well, no, I mean I'm just saying. I mean he's not going to hinder your re-signing of anybody that you now.
It will be freaking hilarious when we use the TPE to get Turner.
Oh no way! Last thing on Turner.
It'll be hilarious.
And we're all right. We're all right then.
Then I'll be taking Jimmy's point. He played for Greg Popovich on Team USA with the Celtics, and it was the same thing. I'm going to keep going back.
Hold on, let's do this. Let's do this, guys. Let's do this. What's your favorite? I know it's sort of like a long shot, but favorite TPE options. I know it's early here, but Bobby, do you have one?
We've done this.
No idea.
Everyone wants Aaron Gordon, but we'll never get him. The Magic are better than we're giving him credit for, and they're not going to trade him.
I don't like you, John.
For nothing.
I don't like you today.
They're not going to trade him because the Celtics don't have tradable assets.
Damn, you shut that down.
But they don't have anything. Jimmy's right. You don't have anything.
Orlando has to tank. It's a wrap. Like, this isn't working. Just sell them.
The TPE gets you. Again, it's just people just think you wave this magic wand. The TPE gets you other people's garbage that they don't want to pay anymore, and they'd rather take that exception. Or you roll it up with an asset or two to get something better. The problem is they don't have anything to attach to it.
I was hoping Orlando was a unique situation.
I don't think so. Not for Gordon. Why would they do that? Why? They flip the script. If you're Orlando, would you do that?
I mean, unless there's something bad going on behind the scenes, that's the only thing I can think of. But unless they really don't like him.
You're more likely to get Vucevic.
Really? I think they'd pick him over Gordon. You don't think so?
They love Vucevic, and he's outstanding.
I feel like that's their no one can touch him. That's why I thought maybe Gordon. I don't know.
Gordon's the thing on Gordon's going to be, does he keep this hot start rolling? He's on fire to start this year. That team's 3-0. He's had hot starts before that have disappeared. This is Gordon with the Magic.
Gordon.
Gordon. Yeah.
Sorry, Aaron Gordon. Yeah.
So they got to, as Josue said, I kind of imagine that team falling off a little bit too, but their coach is great. Their defense is awesome. They might make the playoffs. So are they selling Gordon in that case? Maybe. So they're 3-0 and they've looked outstanding. So we'll see. They've gone off to hot starts before and fallen apart. But Gordon's one of my guys. I'd watch the Spurs too. DeRozan is on that kind of money. And if you can ship out some expiring assets that way, you stay under the tax. And LaMarcus Aldridge as well. That Spurs team's going to be bad. That Spurs team's going to be bad, and they're entering that rebuilding mode. So I'd keep an eye on DeRozan or Aldridge out there. Those are great players. If they're coming off their bench, they're fantastic players.
That's like two. I said Aaron Gordon. You said DeRozan. That's like 10 notches up. It's like, I don't think that's, But I'm with you. Ideally, I guess. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if those guys are out there, great. But again, I don't know who the Spurs are looking at your roster and saying, okay, we'll take these.
Well, too.
So Aldridge isn't expiring. You could feasibly get him for free, like almost free, because he's not going to stay in. They don't want to keep him there, frankly, unless they bring him back on very cheap. So that's a guy. Look, DeRozan's multiple years. They probably want to get a little more back for him. But if you don't have a lot to offer and you're playing this too big lineup that they are right now, I mean, that's my new guy that I'm keyed in on now that Aaron Gordon is looking pretty good and the Magic are looking pretty good with him. We'll see, though. Everything's so early. Could the Spurs be a surprise team? They were last year. Could the Magic make the playoffs again? They've done it a couple of years in a row.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird things going on. Is Terry Rozier the best player in the NBA? Possible.
All right, so predictions that haven't gone my way. The Nets will not be going 20-0.
No, they won't. Absolutely not. Wow, but where did that come from? The Hornets?
Are they still the best team
Gordon
ever
Hayward.
assembled?
I gotta watch that game. I'm hoping NBA TV repeats it tomorrow.
Yeah, looked like a good one. Rozier 19, Hayward 28. It's the 19 Celtics party down there.
Yeah, who else did the Celtics lose and prosper elsewhere? I guess we'll find out. Whoever they trade for the.
Oh, I thought you had somebody, Jimmy. You can't start it like that, bro.
No, I'm asking, like, who else did they lose? I mean, who's it going to be next? I don't know. Maybe,
Al Horford down in Oklahoma getting the win early this year, an upset win.
He was balling out.
They're 1-0.
That's about it. I mean, unless Kelly O gets a hot streak, I think
Al had a grisly stat line a couple games ago.
13 rebounds though. So
it was like 0 for 3.
Yeah. They won that game against the Hornets, though. They're 1-0. So
yeah.
Let's get back to this game, though. Payton Pritchard, we didn't talk about him. Outstanding. So Aaron Nesmith's kind of missing in action right now, but Payton Pritchard, well, Jeff Teague's been struggling mightily. 0 shot makes in the last 2 games. Comes out and hits 5 straight shots to start this game. Drilling deep threes, hitting off the catch. Dumps in the lane, assisting to the big men. He kind of gets in there under the big trees and dishes out little dumps to Rob and others down there. This could be a backup point guard, it's looking like right now.
You sound excited, man. That's not good.
Great.
The rest of it
great.
Great. You know, he's developing. And, yeah, of course,
is that a threat? Is that a threat?
What John is alluding to is like these aren't good signs of a contending team because, you know, we don't know if this is going to bridge the gap enough for Kemba. But that gap,
you know what, though? I'll say
it could be bigger than we expect.
But here's the thing: you got to be.
Hey, maybe it takes Jeff Teague. You guys got so excited about Jeff Teague on opening night.
Guys who are drafted where Pritchard is drafted, where Robert Williams was drafted. You're lucky if they're still in the league in a few years, okay? The bust rate is very high there. So to get a serviceable pro at that point in the draft is a massive victory. So if Payton Pritchard is actually a viable backup point guard in the NBA, that's a home run at that point in the draft. Even if Williams tonight played one of his best all-around games in a bit, but if Williams is able to give you 15 to 20 minutes as a backup big and you're not terrified to leave him on the court in certain situations like they were during the playoffs last year, that's also a huge win. You know, those guys aren't putting you over the hump, but you need to hit with some of those. So it's good to have those guys too. It's just relying on Payton Pritchard. This is the second time in 3 nights he's led the bench in minutes. That's kind of scary.
He led the team in plus minus tonight. So
but you know, it's twice in 3 games he's played more minutes than anybody on the bench.
And we keep hearing about this tough competition they're playing. He's stacking up against it. Indiana's got a good bench. Brooklyn's bench is outstanding. He didn't play as well in that game.
Does that speak? The answer is probably both. But does that speak to how well Pritchard's been playing, or how desperate this team is for viable NBA caliber bodies?
Jimmy, he's looked great, hasn't he?
First it was roster, now it's NBA caliber.
He's looked like he belongs in the NBA since the first preseason game. We were basically like, wow, it looks like this guy's kind of a gamer. Like they may have actually have something there. The Celtics did reach a little bit for him because they knew they were going to trade away their 30th pick, so they knew that they wanted to take him a few spots maybe earlier than what a lot of people expected him to go. So I mean, I like the fact that they may have something there. He's an end of rotation guy or a middle of
Hold on, I just want to say this real quick before I go.
You guys have zero patience.
No, it's just funny. It's just funny. This guy in the comment section goes,
what the hell is so damn funny?
Talking about Joe Sway. Pritchard had a great game. I'm not saying he didn't have a great game.
He did his 3rd game and he led the team plus minus.
It's not 2015, Bobby. This is like year 8 of Brad Stevens. It's like,
oh my God! But I have to apologize for
time, man. How many times have we been through this? It's like, okay,
why am I apologizing for Jeff Teague? How's he moving the needle?
He's a veteran. You really think he's not going to score 20 points tomorrow night or next game? Like, you know he's going to bounce back. He's a veteran. He's an established scorer. Pritchard, to John's point, Pritchard playing all these minutes. What do you think that means for the next game, Bobby? He's probably not going to do much, or he's going to do less. You know, it's going to fluctuate. All right, he's a young player. look, I'm not saying Pritchard playing well this early is a bad thing. I'm like, okay, it's great. Yeah, it's good. You got a serviceable backup. But where are we talking in the grand scheme of things? I mean, in the meantime, yeah, it's good. But, again, Jeff T's going to bounce back. So we'll see how that goes when the second unit goes. But it's just like to go like, oh, man, Pritchard played great. It's like, yeah, he played well. But is this where you thought the Celtics would be? That you'd be excited after game 3 that the rookie that was drafted near the second round went off? Like,
you knew where they'd be. Kemba's out. The bench is young. The leaders of the team are still getting used to their roles. And Tatum, Brown, both looked like high-level facilitators tonight in that first half. So they're acclimating to this.
This guy was Pritchard's better than T.
I think the Celtics are in a pretty bad position right now in terms of their roster, and they're handling it well against tough teams. So 1-2, it's not your ideal start, but there's a ton of great signs right now on this team to be able to get by. Like, I think overall through 3 games, is it above your expectations or below your expectations? It's a little above mine.
It's around my expectations.
It's around it.
Yeah,
and honestly, they're a lucky Tatum shot away from being 0-3 to start this year. So I mean, your perspective might be a little bit completely different if that shot doesn't go down.
That shot again, not to go over that all over again.
Right.
But I mean,
real quick, one more guy here. He goes, Josue, what are they going to talk about? That's my problem. We just like 3 guys to talk about, and Pritchard is one of them. Thank you. To my point. That's a problem, guys. Pritchard's like the 4th best player on this team. This is a problem.
That's what I said. From a talent perspective, right now, it is scary that Pritchard. Absolutely, yes, Jimmy, you can speak.
No, that's what John and I were saying all offseason when Celtics fans were like, we're excited for, this guy and that guy. It's like, are we just like delusional here? Or are we just not seeing the roster that we're all seeing? Because we said the whole time, like, they're going to have trouble scoring based on the fact that if Kemba's out, and now we know he is, like, you're going to have a ton of trouble scoring. Thank God Pritchard is a somewhat capable player, because I don't know who the hell would be playing those minutes if it wasn't for him. I mean, we'd really be going deep into the rotate, where we bring the depths of that lineup.
So everything we're talking about tonight goes back to Nesmith. He's got to get out there soon. Like, just get out there. They need to be able to get him into action, start integrating him. They need him at some point. That's your 14th pick.
I don't think that's the move, Bobby. I think you have to play a little tough love here. Guys like Shemi's been there for a while. I know people are crazy about him, but if you're Brad Stevens, I don't think that's a great look. The way Shemi's been playing, at least the first couple of games, he didn't do a whole lot.
It's fair, Joe.
It's a terrible look at Brad would just say, you know what? Yeah, you've been playing good. You've been here for the last 3 years. Screw it. Bring it.
Doesn't matter.
You got to win. You got to win while you can.
Bobby's right.
He's giving you 2 solid out of 3 games compared to Nesmith, who hasn't even seen the floor yet.
But you know where you're going. You know where you're going with Semi. You got to get. I said this before the season started. Romeo's hurt, but ultimately, the guys who you're going to need to get to that level are going to be Romeo and Nesmith, because they're the only.
I'm with you, John. I think you get Nesmith there. I don't know, eventually and soon and quickly, but I don't know if you just throw him in there in game 4 and give him everyday minutes. That seems drastic and still kind of early,
Well, what worries me right now is that Brown and Tatum are doing a fantastic job facilitating. 5 assists for Tatum tonight. His turnovers are still high, but Brown has been way better than expected in that area. And they're both getting killed by guys missing open threes off of them, whether it's Grant, Tice, Semi. Like, they need a guy who can catch and shoot off them, and Nesmith fits that bill. And they're not defending well anyway. The other options have them last in the league in defense. So I was with you,
I mean, against the Pacers, they didn't look good. That's true.
I was with you, Josue. If the defense was horrid in practice, if his conditioning's not there, all that stuff, they're valid excuses for not throwing him out there. With what we've seen,
you throw him out there, but what do you want to see him play 20-plus minutes? Like, what do you mean? You just saying
no?
Throw him out there
I just want to see him get in the game and play off some of the starters.
That's
in
fair.
rotation.
And as Bobby said, I'd like to see him get out there.
But not garbage time. Don't give him garbage time. I want something legit.
People who can facilitate, as he said.
Exactly.
If Tatum and Brown are penetrating and kicking, you do want to see them kick it to somebody who can knock those down. And that's he's a professional shooter.
Oh, I thought you were trying to put him in the rotation like for good.
No, he's just got to get out there.
I'd like to see him
John wants
immediately.
to.
I'd like to see him guaranteed 10, 12 minutes a game right now.
Well, he's a shooter. The only way you're going to get –
You said 10 minutes a game?
Get good is to get your reps in.
For now.
Shoot. Shooter,
Yeah,
shoot.
and they drafted
it.
him for that reason, to play
I know
off
how-
those wings, to space the floor. And you know what? You listen to Brad and what he's talking about right now. He says we're too clogged up. Well, you're starting two big men. Like everything they're doing right now would be aided by Neesmith, and
Yeah.
it's tough to fit him in.
I
It's
haven't
tough to get-
seen every rookie up and down. I haven't seen what every rookie up and down the board has done, but I feel like several of them up until where Neesmith was drafted and in and around him are getting minutes consistently. Even like Precious, for example, on a deep Heat team, 16 minutes a game. You know, that's it's for him to get zero means something's wrong with him right now. And again, it could be conditioning, it could be defense, but to me, that's doghouse material. Like you have to be doing something really wrong.
Like he's doing something bad in practice, really bad.
14
Yeah.
overall, and not even to be a consideration to get into the game on a team that is talent deficient right now.
That's
To
what I was
me,
going to say.
that
Just like
worries
we said in the preseason when Brad's like,
out of me.
he's
That
not going
either-
to come in. Right.
that either he doesn't get it at all, or he came in so not ready to play NBA basketball that Brad's just like, forget about this guy right now, that he's not even close. And that, or he's so overwhelmed, the game's too fast. I don't know what it is, but the fact that he can't sniff the court is concerning.
I think it's a little bit of everything, John. And I also think it's the competition as well. Like he's not putting him in Christmas Day against Brooklyn or garbage time he did, or the Pacers. People can feel a certain way about the Pacers. This is a tough matchup.
That's what Brad said. Yeah, that's what he said, and that might be.
I think moving forward, you have Cleveland. You have Cleveland coming up. You have other teams that, or Chicago, maybe Detroit. Teams that he could get more reps in. But I just think he's sort of getting him in gradually, and I think it could be a testament to what he said before the season even started, the preseason, when he's like, man, this guy might not even see the floor yet. Like he's not there at all, and we don't know if that was either a little bit of health related or it was because he's just not up to speed with the offense and the way the Celtics are doing things.
So I'm looking up and down the draft board, John, right now. Most of the impact guys so far went above Neesmith. You have your Precious. You have Desmond Bane, who's been playing okay. Theo Maledon's that second-round guy who's been getting some run.
What about Sadiq?
Sadiq, not really.
Joe Swade's guy.
Yeah, not much from him so far. So, I mean, you're honestly, if we're talking plus 14, Payton Pritchard's been the best, if not the second best late round guy out of all the rookies so far. Desmond Bane, Theo Maledon, the only guys that compare. So the picks look okay so far in the early returns. Precious, if you wanted a big man, maybe go in that direction, but Rob looks good right now. They just got to get him out there somehow. Is it the conditioning? Is it the play calls? I mean, Brad had said he was throwing out play calls. He wasn't understanding them.
Right.
No.
It's like, why?
That
why
one's
are we,
probably not it because he went to Vanderbilt. But,
no, just like he just showed up and he just like basketball isn't his thing.
why are we bending over backwards? We're bending over
overwhelmed.
backwards to try to find a reason that this
Wow,
guy
you guys are
might
good.
not be ready. It's like,
Everyone here is
like,
really good.
we like
he did play in a
saying,
better conference.
We're only gonna put him in against bad teams. Like, no, like that's not how it works. Like, just put him in. Like, you drafted him because you obviously like what he can offer you. So, like, put him in the game. Don't wait until you're playing the Chicago Bulls or
I
the.
guess what I'm saying is like I sort of
Thunder.
trust Brad's like opinion on this. With the first round rookie who he's only spent a few weeks with, and he's not comfortable putting him in. All right, Brad, I'll take your word for that.
No.
I don't understand why. Like, are we gonna just get upset after 3 games?
This way, it's concerning that's the case.
Right.
Brad, I get.
Well, I don't know.
with it.
Bobby's
It's just like,
making
why?
it sound like Brad's crazy for not putting him in.
I
I'm
think
like,
if he's not playing, there's absolutely every reason for him not to be playing.
not to put him in. Right.
It's just bad news that he can't get in
Right.
here with these guys. Yeah.
Because this is not the Lakers. Like you need role players right now more than anything, and this guy can't even sniff the court for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
We said it last game. When things start going rough, I mean, they're 1-2 now. That's not too rough, but they'll go to them in time when they really need to break glass and find a rotation guy to help them out and start to break up these lines. Because we're all in agreement. Is this two big man thing going to work? Like maybe to start a game and go 8 minutes, but it's really just been a disaster so far. It was -14 coming into tonight. It doesn't play a lot of minutes. It doesn't set much of a tone. And in your transition defense, as we've mentioned, damaged. It doesn't feel like Tice plays as much as he could out of that. So I don't know how long they're going to stick with that.
I don't know. We'll see. I am curious too. There's going to be teams doing load management. Celtics have a back-to-back coming up with a Tuesday with Indiana and then home for Memphis. I'm wondering if some guys are going to sit one of these games.
So Tatum and Brown are a little bit
that.
low. They're not running those guys 40-plus minutes, so you're right. Those could be guys that get rest. Thompson is probably due a rest in one of those two games, so you're right. Good thing you're getting Robert minutes. And
the NBA came out and said that you're not allowed to rest guys anymore, right?
Well,
or
guys,
for certain games.
Guys can always have a sore back.
Didn't they say for national televised games you had to something like that?
That's pretty unfair to like good teams that are on national TV a lot more than like shitty teams. It's a wild. When you're cramming games here to begin with, you're playing back to backs. You're playing every other day, in most cases. I just like the NBA's. I think like they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. It feels like.
Well, you know what they did? They did some good pats on the back for the players in the bubble, and now they got to make their money back. So you're going out there with your sore knee on national TV. You're traveling. Right. There's no bubble this year. Like it's everything we saw in the bubble in terms of goodwill is just the other way now because they got to pay those bills.
I know where
Tatum real quick. Tatum on his last shot takes full responsibility for poor final play. That was on me. That he, bad decision, bad shot.
Okay. Fair enough.
I should have put more pressure on the defense.
And this is a game. This is a game they kind of needed. You're going to see Oladipo on Tuesday, and then that back-to-back. You don't want to start 1-4 here, as they possibly could. They need we talked about on opening night against the Bucks. Every chance you have to get a win here while the going's rough early in the year, you got to scrap that out. And forget Nesmith, forget these rotations. They were in control in that first half. They threw this game away with the most horrid turnovers you can imagine. Teague stepping out of bounds on the sideline late in transition. Pritchard lining up out of bounds on a catch-and-shoot three. I've never seen anything like that. The turnovers were just ridiculous tonight. And this is the story of this team. Their offense is good. Their offense is okay. If you undermine that with turnovers, not only is your defense going to be even worse than it probably looks, but your offense is just going to be completely undermined.
Their offense is okay. Their defense has been terrible.
Yeah. And you're giving up turnover to a team that wants to run like this Pacers team.
How has Marcus Smart looked to you guys through 3 games?
I thought he was very good tonight.
Thought he was.
Yeah, he was better tonight.
I don't think he's been very good.
Well, game 1, he took 3 shots, and I thought he played his role interesting, and I had no issue with how he played in game 1.
I think he's doing what we want him to do.
Yeah, I have no issues with him. I mean, again, he's not like, I wouldn't say he's stepping up if that's what you're looking for right now, but he's not hurting them. He's just kind of sort of, I guess, just another player on the team that might need to take it up a notch to make up for not having Kemba and not having a deep bench. I don't think there's.
We thought we were going to see Bobby, you were talking about him averaging 18, 19, 20 points a game this year with Kemba out.
You guys all yelled at him for shooting so much, now he doesn't want to do it anymore.
We did. We made him.
I really like how they're looking. We imagined a team last year where Jaylen steps up into his position and Smart becomes more of an off-ball shooter. And for the 3 games into that plan, they're actually looking pretty solid in terms of Jaylen being the on-ball guy and then them finding Smart on the perimeter. It's going to be tough right away for him to get volume off catch and shoots and them to find him consistently. But you find him 8 times in this one. He had that finish down the stretch when he got off the ball, the tough floater. He hits 2 out of 4 threes. I thought this was like your perfect Smart night if you could imagine him in this new role.
It is, and again, we're going to keep going back to it. You talked about the minutes here. This is what's going to be frustrating with this team right now, with its lack of depth. Jaylen and Jayson playing like low 30s, mid 30s. They're not going for these W's. Like we saw what Milwaukee did on night 1 when they played their 3 top players 40 minutes apiece. Celtics are not doing that. And that means 23 from Grant, 23 from Pritchard, 22 from Teague. Crazy minutes to guys. The disparity in the level of talent between the guys getting 33 minutes and the guys getting 23 minutes is an enormous gulf. And that's what's happening right now is Brad's clearly not going to blow out his best players. That's going to result in some L's like this, and it's going to be frustrating to watch it.
Yeah, and that's where late game execution comes into play.
Yeah.
You have small margins. Things are tight. Games swing back and forth. You're not a team that can take control and blow another team out. It's going to come down to those last few minutes a lot here.
Yeah.
You're 1 for 2. Probably need to dig this one out. They had all the opportunities to forget the shot, like just the turnovers and the botch plays down the stretch, and even that missed Tatum on the Rob. Yep,
they beat themselves. Yeah. They beat themselves in a lot of ways here. It was still a winnable game. I guess we're right back at it again on Tuesday. Go ahead, Jimmy. Let's get final thoughts here and wrap it up.
Well, before my final thought, there might be one way to fix
this is your penultimate thought. You got this thought, and then you want a final thought.
There might be one way to fix the offense. And I was up late last night watching a little basketball. I know Bobby was up late
breaking down film.
I know Bobby was up late watching James Harden as well. 44 points, 17 assists. He may be a little overweight, but he still looks like, one of the most unbelievable offensive players in the NBA. Those rumors are still out there. And more games like that, I think you're going to hear louder and louder, I don't know, whispers or rumors or whatever you want to call it, whether it's from fans or what, that are going to be saying, Celtics need to do something here. And James Harden's available. And listen, Celtics traded for KG. They traded for Kyrie. Danny Ainge, we know that he's not shy or scared to do something crazy. I wouldn't completely rule it out. I just wouldn't. I'm not saying I want it to happen, but I wouldn't rule it out.
Well, let me ask you this. This started dancing in my head because it's hard to make a deal for Harden work, and everybody automatically assumes it's Jaylen Brown. But what if Harden sticks with Houston for a while because they can't make that deal, and we start getting closer to the trade deadline, and Kemba comes back? Is Kemba in play there?
Why would Houston want him?
Yeah,
this is my thing. Brown's off the table. He looks too good. He's part of the core. He signed long term. I'm blown away by his play, Frank, early on here. I wouldn't move him. And then all of a sudden, you can't do a deal here.
All right, then it's Tatum. No. That's the problem. Is really
you need a third team.
Anybody who calls Boston, they want Tatum or Brown. Danny hangs up immediately. Then you can't do a trade. So there's no trades. That's the thing, is that this is where the best thing, the thing Boston has of most value that they can trade is nothing. It's a piece of paper that has a number on it. That's the most valuable asset.
It's an IOU.
It's an
IOU.
That's their most valuable asset.
I'm glad a loss where Harden scored a bunch of points against a bad defense in the regular season changed his image. That's pretty good for him right there. So
17 assists. That's the part that I can't get.
Times, man.
He was hitting some wild shots. He did have the turnover.
To have a game like that, as out of shape as he is,
he's always done that.
But I mean, that was such an FU game. It was like, watch, I'm going to show up. I'm going to eat a bucket of chicken wings before I friggin' take the court.
He's incredible in that aspect. Yeah.
I'm going to leave pieces of it in my beard so you guys can see it. And then I'm going to go out there. I'm going to score 44 points and drop 17 assists. Okay. I'm not going to play a lick of defense because why pretend? And I'm just going to leave that out there for you guys to talk about.
I'm interested, though, because there has been a lot of noise, and you always wonder, where's that come from? Like, Boston's name pops up originally. Now he's on his preferred destinations, which is actually shocking. Like, you wouldn't think Boston would be where Harden wants to be, given Tatum, given the city, like the situation here. Not the best strip club city, Boston. So... where's that come from? Why does he want to come here? Why are the Celtics so connected? Like, there is some smoke and noise here, and I don't know who's
pros and cons list.
Winning culture, Houston, man. It's Houston.
Winning
Houston
culture. Good coach. Couple young superstars. Cons. Not enough strip clubs.
Good point, Joe Slay. Harden told us he's not on the list.
Cold. Not enough strip clubs.
Yeah.
Deal breaker.
Man.
Sorry. There's nothing we could do. We got to talk to Marty.
Hey, Providence has got
Hey, Marty.
got some
We
players.
need-
I was waiting for when you guys to bring it up. Jimmy read my mind. You can go down to Pravi, kid. You can ride down. Go down south.
Yeah,
Go down to
Down
Providence.
95.
quick
And go for
shot.
Peabody, Golden Banana.
Hey, Bobby. He knows what's up. Yeah, Route 1. There's a couple on there, right? Route 1.
That's a hometown
I've been
staple.
told. So I've been told.
Yeah. We used to have the combat zone as a commenter put in here. That might be before. That's before a lot of you guys, but
Now the food's a key aspect, as we know. Who knows? I don't know if the
I
food
didn't
stacks
know
up to Atlanta.
eating at a strip club was a thing, man. I don't know if that's the move, guys.
I think Atlanta
Wow.
is that intriguing destination for him. All things
because of the
considered.
strip clubs, right?
Well, not only that, but the team. Like, would you not trade Trae Young for James Harden? That's become
Never.
like the big thing right now.
No.
Oh wow.
God,
I
no.
would. I would.
No,
Because Young's 5'9", can't defend at all.
doesn't
and
matter.
The whole team's built around him.
He's
I think
they
12
love him.
years old. You got him for the next controllable for the next 7-8
Yeah.
years. No
Yeah.
way.
And they
You know
love
why
him.
Part of the
You
reason
don't trade stars under 25. You just don't do it.
I think
Right.
You don't trade established stars. You trade guys who might be stars. You trade Jaylen Brown 2 years ago. You don't trade him now. You know what I mean? You just don't do it.
You know, with all the conversation we've had here, what this is going to lead to, John, is him staying there. And you look at last night, that team actually looks pretty fun. Christian Wood's awesome. They're a playoff team out there. I think it makes sense to just keep them for this season and, you know, figure that out later, trade deadline or whatever. Like, you know, they're a pretty good team right now. And eventually,
Trae
the
Young
noise
is
starts
6'1",
quieting
by the
down.
way.
Wow, he looks shorter
Young's
than
what?
that to me.
Trae Young is 6'1".
He's kind of
Yeah, I was
skinny.
gonna
Maybe
say,
that's why.
I'll get 6 feet. Right at 6
Yeah.
feet, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of besides that. I think a little bit of denial there in Atlanta is always going to be. We had Luka Doncic, but we ended up with someone pretty good instead. You know, we gotta roll with him and try kind of ride this one out. That team just doesn't blow me away with him being the centerpiece as much.
I mean, he's a brilliant offensive player.
He's Isaiah Thomas
Yeah,
at his
he-
height,
he-
frankly.
He's electric too.
He is.
He's an. You know, unfortunately, he's always going to be. He might always be known as. Well, he won't always be.
I mean,
only
Bobby,
but
he
he
scored-
was in the trade for Luka. But
He
I mean, I
scored
still
30
think he's a
friggin'
great
points
player.
a game last year in his second year in the NBA. You know how many people have done that in their second year in the NBA?
Yeah, the offense is
Zero?
electric.
One?
And part of this is that team. They haven't built anything around him to help mitigate his weakness, and his defense is it's like an Isaiah Thomas level weakness, as you know, some people have said about him. I would think about it strongly because that flip out, all of a sudden the boost you get from Harden there, like that's a destination that makes sense for him in my mind. But who knows? If you want to ride this out with Young, what's he, 19, 20 years old? I guess it's the same reason you ride it out with Tatum and Brown.
Write it out with the teenage all-star. Yeah.
Right
not
out
bad.
with a 20-year-old averaging 30 points a game.
And
I guess I'll
Rondo and
tough that out.
Gallinari.
Oh, that's tough. Good luck.
It's
They'll be
different.
all right.
Trading
They'll be
Bobby.
all right. Atlanta's gonna be fine.
It'd be a different story if you were trading for a well-rounded player instead of just another guy who's pure offense. But you've got pure offense and he's 20 years old versus pure offense who probably doesn't really want to be there. Has a bunch of baggage and is 31 years old with only 1 year left on his contract. I just don't even think that's a conversation. Trae Young, I don't know why Atlanta would ever entertain that.
It's a fair point. They got to see
Offense
out the
for
new
offense.
additions.
You're
and
not
stuff.
improving anywhere. You're going to bring in another offensive player in a team that already has a crazy amount of offensive talent. So
let's see how it goes. They spent a bunch of money this offseason. They added some role guys who could feasibly help them. But if they're headed for 19, 20 wins again, like they were last year, I mean, what are you doing down there? Like it's just not moving in the way it should be at this point.
yeah. Anyway, let's get our final thoughts here. The bottom line here, I think the what we've learned after 3 games, if anything, on this team is that Tatum and Brown aren't enough, and this team is going to be like this, kind of a middle of the pack ish playoff caliber team in the Eastern Conference. But this is also the type of team that I don't think they're walking into any building in the East, save for one or two, and guaranteeing a W without a solid effort. Okay, they don't have enough talent to just look at the Cavs 3-0. Charlotte, you think they could just walk in there and beat them on any given night? Even the Knicks, the bottom feeders here are a little bit better, which means you're going to have to work for a lot of your W's. The Celtics do not have enough talent on this team to just walk into a building and win because they're the Celtics. Tatum and Brown are not enough right now. And you need Kemba sooner rather than later, or you need other guys you're not getting it from to develop. That's the through 3 game assessment. Obviously, things change. I do trust in Brad to maximize what he's going to get out of these guys. That's something that he is better at than anybody, which is if you looked around the league and any other team played Jeff Teague, Peyton Pritchard, Robert Williams, and Grant Williams 20-something minutes each and were able to stay competitive in a game, you'd be like, wow, that's quite an accomplishment. And that's what Brad was able to do tonight. So he's mixing and matching as best as he can, but they're short. They're short.
Right. And I think you're going to see this team obviously drop a handful of games, but I don't know. I mean, I'm with you, John. I think they're definitely in the middle of the pack playoff wise, but that might not necessarily be the case in terms of how far they go through the postseason, right? So I think this whole time Brad Stevens has to get this group ready, obviously start incorporating Kemba when that happens, February or whatever, right? Hopefully. And then go from there. But I don't know if necessarily, whether it's a TPE or whether it's a combination of that and Kemba, like, I don't know if they're doomed, it's like long term. I know a team that also used to carve out wins, used to really, fight for wins and picked up momentum right before or right at the trade deadline and finished the season strong and pushed all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. That was the Miami Heat. They were a 5th seed. There's nothing wrong with being a 5th seed for the Celtics. There's just a lot of ifs, though. There's a lot of question marks. I'm with you, John. It doesn't look great, but I think this is an important stretch right here. The Clevelands, the Detroits, another game against the Indiana Pacers. We're going to maybe see we're going to find out a lot more about this team identity-wise, I think,
we're
this week.
Spoiled, Josue. It was an embarrassment of riches in terms of talent for a long time.
Yeah, because we were like all-star after all-star point guard, coming in, all the new. Is that what you mean? Like the last couple of seasons?
Everything. I mean, even last year, you've got 4. You have just so many all-star caliber players. I mean, a couple of years prior,
20+ scores, right?
Yeah. The year before that, Rozier with Irving and Marcus Morris and Jalen and Jason and Hayward and Horford. I mean, ridiculous amount of talent on this team where you're just like, Jesus, how do you manage these minutes? And then last year you were top heavy.
Yeah, it started seeping out.
You knew you had some bench, but it's just less and less, and that's the issue.
Yeah, and we'll see how this year goes for Hayward. It's off to a great start down there in Charlotte. You see the potential, how much game he has left. He said he was in his prime. That's the reason I want to keep him. John ideally want to keep him too. This team would be looking pretty good right now.
I would have paid him anything.
Yeah, you'd be looking fantastic with him here right now. So we all laughed a little bit at that injury. Now he's right out there beating the Nets. I mean, that's a kind of a prove it to start the year to lead a win over the Nets. So
I thought among all of the things that everyone was saying was he's not worth that. To this team, he was absolutely worth whatever he got in Charlotte.
And Angel probably made that offer,
You will not, with a trade exception or anything else you're able to do, will not come close to getting a player of his talent over the course of these next couple of years because you just don't have ways to get there unless you hit a home run in the draft somewhere, which is possible, but it's not coming to you any other way. And so, but Gordon was there. If there's anything they could have done, but again, I don't think it was money with him. Not here. He wasn't coming here.
And this is the sport. Like whether it's ego, whether it's the cap, whether it's there's always something there to break up a team that looked as idealistic as the Celtics did last year. To have Hayward as your 4th option, to be that offensively loaded at the top, you got to take advantage of that moment. And to see what they have now, when you were 2 wins from the NBA Finals, is tough. Like you really got to maximize your moment, and good things don't last too long in this league.
Jimmy, legit final thought now.
Well, you guys had a lot of good thoughts that I share with you. I mean, bottom line is I'm in wait and see mode. I'm not surprised by really much that I've seen over the first 3 games. So I'm in wait for Kemba and see what you got mode, because that's going to be the difference. You get Kemba back and he's 90%. That's the biggest addition that, anyone in the NBA can really say that they're going to get at that point in the season. So that's what the Celtics need. They're going to be top heavy again, just like they were last season. with just a little bit less top heavy because they lost Gordon Hayward, and you got to hope that Thompson and Teague can sort of carry whatever load that they can carry, and that maybe a young guy can step up, whether it's Rob Williams, Romeo if he comes back. That's pretty much where I'm at right now. That's not really going to change for the next 6 to 8 weeks. It is what it is.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
it.
with you.
Celtics lose to the Pacers, 108-107. Jayson Tatum heaves a 70-footer.
His bad. Hey, his bad.
Didn't hit the backboard this time, unfortunately.
Yeah. Tatum, yeah, little hero ball didn't go his way. 1 and 2, same two teams run it back. This time Indiana will have Victor Oladipo, and the Celtics will have the same exact players they had tonight.
Smith.
Kemba on the sidelines.
With no Kemba. And that's it. That's what we got. We will wrap it. We will talk to you guys on Tuesday. We got games coming up Tuesday, Wednesday. John? Oh, right.
Can't forget them.
I forgot. Josue, what are you wearing?
I got the white one, the white Hawthorne this time.
Tell them about it.
He's overloaded with them. Every color.
Legends Apparel, legendsbrand.com/Horford. Use the code Horford20, 20% off your next purchase. You get cool sweatshirts like, what's that one called again?
The Hawthorne hoodie.
Joe
just wear it like this the whole time.
Josue has worn 4. That's enough for this whole show, but they're all just hoarded in his house.
You look like a snuggly little alien there, Josue.
Especially like this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You never looked better. You never look better than you do right now.
But anyway, high quality apparel, already cheaper than you're going to get the same sort of stuff for. Plus, you get the 20% discount when you say Horford20. It's still worth it. It's a really good purchase. The special's still running, so go for it now. Horford20, legendsbrand.com/Horford. That's where you go in, plug in your discount, get your goods, get your hoodies. And that's it. That's the Garden Report. For Jimmy Toscano, Josue Pavone, Bobby Manning, Celtics blog, CLNS Media.
Yeah.
Sorry to say Josue from heavy.com, covering the Celtics there. We will talk to you guys on Tuesday. Good night, everybody.
Enjoy that win, guys.
Peace.
Calling it.